This is the third Women of Wrestling podcast we're delivering into your ear holes in the last, 2 and a bit weeks?
Yeah, we've kind of rattled through them because of female fight season, but, with good reason. There's a lot to talk about.
Yes, we are right in the middle of female fight season. We've already had shows from Bellatrix, AIW, Girls Night Out 9 and 10, WSU's Blood and Thunder last weekend as well. We've got Shimmer coming up this weekend, Shine coming up the Friday after that, and NCW Femmes Fatales coming up the day after Shine. We're super delivering this season.
Yeah, so there's been a lot of people who've had a lot of things to say, so we've been giving them a chance to say them.
Yeah, and apart from 3, well, this will be the third Women of Wrestling podcast. We've also had 3 Fight Like a Girl shows as well. We'll talk about that in just a minute, but let's first of all just talk about who we're going to have coming up on the show today, and that's going to be Kimber Lee.
Yes, that's the way that it's pronounced because of the way that Alison Kay said it on the previous podcast.
Yes, indeed. Kimber Lee, CZW, WSU, Shine, Shimmer, Femmes Fatales. She's been everywhere, and with good reason. We picked her out last year at the end of last calendar year as our discovery of 2012, and she's gone on to have a pretty damn fantastic 2013.
Yeah, I still say that holds water, that title.
What title? Discovery of the Year?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, because, we said that she was going to be the kind of person who was going to make a big impact in 2013, and she has.
Yes. We are soothsayers, perhaps.
I don't know about that.
Prognosticators, perhaps.
I don't know about that either. These are all big words.
They are. But listen, so we're going to be talking to Kimber Lee coming up ahead of Shimmer this weekend, and we'll be talking all about that, and I'm sure she's got lots to talk about. But before we do that, let's talk about some of the other stuff that you might have missed or you might still have stuck on your iPod or other MP3 listening device. Because, if you kept up with it, good for you.
Yeah, because there's been a lot.
Yeah. Women of Wrestling podcast, first of all. We started the month with a chat with Mercedes Martinez. Lots of people have said lots of good things about that. She's got a really good mind for wrestling. She's really smart, really easy to listen to, and she's done pretty much everything there is to do in indie women's wrestling. And, she's also not someone that you hear doing a lot of podcasts either.
Yeah, so it's really, really nice that we are able to have a chat with her, just get her to be sort of open and just quite revealing about a certain amount of stuff. But then, episode 62 Rock Round with Alison Kay, as we mentioned before, who gave us the title of Kimber Lee.
That pause gets longer each time.
It's like Calgary, Alberta, Canada.
Indeed.
Yeah, so Kay was talking to us ahead of the WSU match against Kimber Lee. We were also talking about Girls' Night Out as well. We were talking about her trip to Japan. She spent 3 months there, so she had a lot to discuss on that side of things. It was a very, very deep chat about a lot of things that she's been doing in the last year.
And, someone that we know talked to us about the show that they had listened to, and they thought that we had some of the best chemistry with Alison Kay on a podcast that we've had with anybody in a long time. In fact, they mentioned that they thought it was almost like we never actually started the proper conversation, and this was all just preamble.
Yeah, it's kind of like that,
yeah,
up to the shoulder.
Meant that in a good way, of course.
Yeah. Yes, definitely.
So that was that. That's the Women of Wrestling podcast. We've also had the Fight Like a Girl shows as well. 2 of them planned, one of them slightly unplanned. I'll let you go ahead with your one first, Lee.
Well, it kind of carries on from what we're talking about with Alison Kay, because she spent 3 months in Japan, and the person who I spoke to, Casey Owens, also spent 3 months in Japan. She spent it training and wrestling with Ice Ribbon. Also got to wrestle for JWP as well. So that was another feather to her cap. Got to wrestle in Kurikan Hall. We talked about all that with her, getting used to the lifestyle, wrestling as a full-time job, and her plans to return as well.
Yeah, Casey Owens, if you don't know who she is, she's one half of the Owens twins, tag team out of Northern Ireland. And I thought she came across really well on the show. It was nice to hear her talk about the fact that Japan was always her dream. It was like, more than anything else, she wanted to be able to go and wrestle there. So it's nice to see people achieve that. And, more to the fact, she's going to go back. She's said quite categorically, like, she's just waiting for the next opportunity to go out there.
Absolutely. Very ambitious.
Yes. We also talked, I talked to Angela Slane for another Fight Like a Girl show that went real long. But it was one of those shows that I think you really need to go and listen to, especially even if you don't know who Angelus is. Go and check it out. It's a really interesting and educational show all about injuries. She's currently out with post-concussion syndrome, had to miss bookings and basically cancel all of her bookings for the rest of the year. And, we talked to her earlier in the year, and I said to her on the show that was one of my favourite interviews we'd done all year. And when I got in contact with her with the idea of chatting to her about her injury, I really didn't think that it was going to be half of the story that it ended up being. I just thought that, we'll get a 20-minute update and it'll be nice to catch up with her. But instead, she ended up for talking over an hour about the number of concussions she's had in her life, both through wrestling and even competitive cheerleading, and even going back to, I think she said she had her first concussion when she was 7 years old.
I mean, I was listening to that because you did the interview and I listened back to it after it had been uploaded, and I was like, shit, the bath.
Yeah.
This woman has had quite a lot happen to her. And it seems to make a habit of catching people with her head.
Yeah, but she always catches them.
Yes, which is always a very admirable thing to do.
Yeah, but no, look, if you're a fan, there's something there to be educated about. If you're a wrestler, especially, there's something there to be educated about, because she talks about the pro wrestling mentality and the stubbornness that's kind of inbuilt in pro wrestlers to work through your injuries, even if it's a concussion. But you got to listen to your body. You got to turn off your pro wrestling brain sometimes, turn on your common sense brain, and figure out when it's right to take some time off for the good of your health.
Yeah, so Angelus is listening to her common sense long-term brain.
Yes, it's always nice. And the other show that we did was a last-minute show. It was literally, I was about to go to bed last week, one evening, got a call from Drew Cordero enthusing about the fact that they had a new co-owner going to be announced last weekend at the iPay-per-view Blood and Thunder. And he said, "Oh, do you want to talk about it?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Can we do it as a podcast?" He was like, "Yeah." So we got about 20 minutes of Drew talking about, well, he didn't name at that point who the new co-owner was going to be. He talked about what the addition of the new co-owner would do for WSU going forward, and talked about his record basically after 1 year of being in charge of the promotion. We now know, of course, who that co-owner is from Blood and Thunder at the weekend. It was announced as DJ Hyde, the CZW owner.
Yeah, so we'll be talking to Kimber Lee about that as well, seeing as she's got experience with CZW and also with WSU.
Yes. So there you go. I think we're pretty much done for now, but we need to talk about some things that you need to be aware of.
Yeah. First thing is the kind of thing we've been mentioning for a little while now, the little advert that we've got for High Spots that's on the website. Click on it, save it as a bookmark, and then when you want to go buy something from High Spots, DVDs, doesn't have to be women's wrestling DVDs, can be anything, anything from High Spots, just click on that bookmark that you've saved, buy your stuff, and we get a little bit of a kickback. You get your stuff, it's no extra charge, and we're able to keep the website free for everyone.
Yes, that's good. And we have one other shill to do, and it's not for us for a change. I've got one other shill to do, and I want to bring up and I want to mention the great man known as Kevin Harvey. Kevin, who's one of the producers of Shimmer. He's got a whole bunch of different hats that he wears, but one hat that he does wear is as the owner and the founder of the School of Everything Else, which is for wrestlers who want to learn about all the stuff that doesn't involve taking bumps. And he's got a podcast called Schools In, and we've certainly mentioned it on Twitter a number of times, but if you haven't been following us on Twitter and you don't know what Schools In is, you want to go and check that out. He's been doing some great interviews this month. With Shimmer coming up, he has been really delivering the female audio content as well, much like ourselves. He's had interviews this last month with a whole bunch of female wrestlers, some Shimmer related, some just women's wrestling related.
So Amazing Kong, Saraya Knight, Madison Eagles, Kelly Skater, Cheerleader Melissa, they've all been on the last few weeks.
Yeah, and Matilda the Hun as well, don't forget about that.
Yes, that was rather an eye-opening conversation.
That really was. I mean, now that's one that goes back to Glow, Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, of course, is where Matilda the Hun was probably most famous for. But, again, that's someone where even if you're not particularly aware of who that person is, or their wrestling years were before your time, listen to it. There's some cool stuff to know in there, some cool stuff to learn. Not least of which is the fact that she was one of the first female sex line operators in the US.
Blimey.
Yes, blimey is one word for it. But no, seriously though, Kevin's a good guy, and we would really recommend. We don't often, in fact, we don't ever tend to recommend anybody else's audio because we like to think that we produce all you need to hear. But please feel free to go and check out on iTunes or Stitcher. Do a search for Schools In and you'll find it there. It's also hosted up on pwponderings.com as well.
Well, with that, I think that's all the plugging and stuff out of the way. Should we get a guest on?
Let's get a guest on. When we come back, we will be speaking to Kimber Lee.
Just pointing out, by the way, that's the professional wrestler, not the South Korean playwright.
Okay, and we are back now on the show with our guest portion, and we are here with our Discovery of the Year for last year, who, as we mentioned earlier, has had a pretty damn great 2013 so far. Kimber Lee is here. Kimber, how's it going?
It's going good. How are you guys?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. I'm getting ready to jet off to the States for the weekend, so I will see you then. And Lee is unfortunately a little bit on the sad side because he's not.
Aww.
Yeah, don't rub it in, Stu. Thanks a lot.
I was getting you some sympathy, man.
I appreciate the sympathy, but, I'm going to be sitting here crying in a corner eating crisps. See, that's how you get sympathy.
That's very impressive. I like it.
Well,
I like
champion at doing that.
Yeah, really.
Maybe some ice cream too with your.
Maybe. Actually, in the fridge right now, I have some Cadbury's chocolate, which has cola, pretzel, and honeycomb flavors in it.
That sounds delicious.
So I'm eating that.
Wow, you're almost making me jealous.
I'm so hardcore.
Really? Well, anyway, we're here to talk about, you in general, but also fight season. Fight season is underway. We're about halfway through it now, and you've been all over the place. Yes,
I have, and you can even hear in my voice, I don't really have much of one because I haven't stopped screaming for the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I was thinking about this. It's all very well having this fight season where you've got all this condensed sort of amount of wrestling, and you've got all these people working multiple shows across multiple weeks, but by the end of it, you guys are all going to be just wrecks, aren't you?
Oh, yeah. I definitely imagine I will need a couple massages and like a day to just collapse in my bed and not move once it's finally over.
Just a day? I was thinking like you might have to like take a week off or something, but I don't know. Maybe you're harder than that.
I mean, with working 3 jobs on top of my wrestling, I don't stop for very long. So. Good
God.
Yeah.
All right, impressive. Well, I'm doubly impressed that you managed to get time off from all of them to travel around the country doing the whole wrestling gimmick. But I guess your employers are understanding.
Yeah, they're understanding, and I'm also good about letting them know when I need the time off in enough advance that I just get it every time.
Nice.
Yeah.
Plus, if they refused, you just kick their ass.
Exactly. Yakuza kicks all around if they refuse.
Mm-hmm. It's a great way to resign.
Gotta go out with a bang.
Yeah. So how's it been for you so far? I mean, you've been involved in AIW Girls Night Out 9 and 10, and also WSU Blood and Thunder at the weekend. Let's talk about Girls Night Out first of all. Two tapings back to back, and 2 wins against our own Nikki Storm and also Santana Garrett.
Yes. Which was awesome for me. I have a good win record against guys at AIW, but my record going into it was 1-4. 1 win, 4 losses. So now I have made it 3-4.
Nice.
So that was good. And both of them were matches that were on like my list of people I want to run into in my wrestling career. So that was also really exciting. And Nikki's awesome. That was definitely a really fun match for me. She's such a little spitfire, and also Santana, as everyone knows, she's just great. And so I enjoyed both of my matches. and had fun in different ways in both of them.
Just out of curiosity, did you know much about Nikki before meeting her at AIW?
I didn't know much. I knew who she was, and I'd seen a little bit, but not much. So I was very excited. But everybody I had talked to leading up to it was, "Oh, she's great. It's going to be awesome." So.
You know, I'm thinking about the fact that after these shows so far, you're already suffering with your voice. If Nikki loses her voice, man, she's in trouble.
Yeah, she even was starting to sound like she was losing hers too after AIW. So probably all of us are going to be very raspy by the end of this.
Nikki's always raspy. That's just Scottishness. That's you can't help that. But she better be eating honey all week, I think, just to make sure she's
lots
ready.
Of honey and hot tea.
Indeed. AIW. The show got really good reviews from people who were there. They said that it was like 2 really good shows. Did you get much of a chance to see any of the rest of it, or were you just concentrating on your own matches?
Sorry, my voice just completely cracked. The first show I saw quite a bit of, which the first taping, I should say, it was kind of all one show, but I saw a lot of the first taping because I was towards the end, and everything was just solid that I saw from the first match all the way up leading to when it got to mine. I did miss the main event of the first taping because I was right before that, but and then the second taping I didn't get to see quite as much, but from what I've heard, it was all very good, and I definitely want to watch it as soon as I can get a DVD copy or anything like that.
Coming out very shortly, we've been told, so yeah.
Yeah. In fact, I do think Girls Night Out 9 might be available right now already. I think they're still working on 10.
Check it out, everybody. Go and check it out. It's shop.aiwrestling.com or smartmarkvideo.com, in fact. AIW was the place that I first saw you, and we'll talk a little bit more about how you got involved in wrestling and your background and all that sort of stuff as we go on here. But AIW, I think, was the first time I ever saw you, and you tended to have this thing where, because I hadn't seen you before, I didn't have any expectations of your match. It was just like, okay, I don't know who this is. And then at the end of most of the AIW Girls Night Out shows of the last year, I was always like, well, I think my favourite match was the one with Kimber Lee. And I kind of thought, well, hang on, there's a common denominator here. Do you kind of think of that as being a place where you kind of really did sort of start to shine a little bit and get some exposure?
Oh yeah, definitely. I have to credit AIW for that. They're the first all-women's promotion not all-women's promotion, but all-women's show that I ever worked for. So they gave me that opportunity to start off and let me shine and show what I can do. And then from there, like, WSU found me, and then Shimmer, and it's just kind of rolled off of that, Femmes Fatales. So now I'm kind of all over the place, but it all did start there. So I definitely thank them a lot for giving me that opportunity to show myself.
It's like a big violent snowball.
Yes.
What about Blood and Thunder from WSU this past weekend? We had Alison Kay on the show a couple weeks ago, and I said to her, and I think your match with her was the one that I think I was secretly looking forward to most of all. Did you enjoy that? It was a first time match between you two. I think you can do even better, but did you enjoy that match? Did you think you had good chemistry?
Oh yeah, I definitely enjoyed that match. I thought we worked great together. We had been in opposing each other in tag matches before, but that was the first time we've ever gotten to wrestle one-on-one. And going into it, I knew that both of us were going to bring it, and so I had a lot of fun. It's probably on my list of favorite matches I've had.
Sweet.
For sure.
Is it easier when you go into a match like that, knowing that you think, when I come out at the end of this, it's probably going to be a good one? Does that kind of maybe ease nerves or anxiousness?
Yes and no. I think it eased it just knowing that going into it, Allison's also a great wrestler, so this is going to has the potential to be a great match. But then I also almost get more nervous because then there's such high expectations for what the match is going to do. So I'm like, oh, I have to do all this craziness and make it as good as everybody is imagining it's going to be. I can't let anybody down. So yes and no.
Doing suicide dives and all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Oh, the photo of that is amazing.
Yeah, that picture is awesome. Whoever got that.
And of course, I mean, like, with all due respect to AIW and WSU, I mean, Shimmer's, possibly the one that is probably most well known around the world as far as all female promotions. And obviously, the tapings are coming up this weekend for the next set of volumes. You debuted for them earlier in the year, and in fact, I think Dave might have sort of let us know on the Christmas show last year on the podcast that you were in his sights, having seen you at AIW. Your debut weekend, or two weekends, I guess, at Shimmer. How did they go for you back in April?
Shimmer was such an amazing experience overall in April. I just getting to spend the weekend with all the girls and just the camaraderie that comes with that, and then. My match with Evie was probably the best way I could have started off the weekend, and both of us were debuting, and that match was just so much fun, and so just I still even think about it, and it's like, damn, that was a good match. But and like I'm just so excited to do it all again, and this weekend coming up, and have more amazing matches with amazing girls, and just all the opportunities that Shimmer Weekend really has.
It's funny you mentioned about the Evie match as well, because just thinking about it, when we talked about your dive and there was the photo on there, there was this snapshot of you during the match with Evie with your sort of variation of the tarantula, where you've just got the most manic-looking expression on your face as you're looking into the camera. Possibly one of my favourite pictures of the last couple of years. It's just brilliant.
Yeah, I love that picture so much. It was my profile picture for a while.
How did that come about then? Because did you see, right, that cameraman's there, I'm gonna do this?
Well, I mean, I generally make that face at different points in my match, and I think I think I just happened to. I don't know. I don't even know if I was thinking about it really. I might have just noticed there was a camera there and looked.
It's professional, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, about that match, it was a great match, and I think we certainly mentioned it as being one of the best matches on that first day of tapings. But Evie picked up she got her bell rung basically in that match, and it's one of those weird ones. I mean, I don't know if you've had time to think back about it or get anybody else's opinion about it, but it was one of those matches where I don't think either of you afterwards had any idea how she got her bell rung.
No, like even...
Is that still the case? Is this still like a mystery as to how this happened?
Yes, it is the mystery concussion of the year. We still have no idea what happened or at which point in the match, just because everything was absolutely fine. Even right after, everything was still fine. It wasn't until a couple of minutes went by that she started to go, wait, what happened? I just wrestled? So, yeah, it definitely still, neither one of us, I don't think, really know where it happened.
I think the DVD of that one should be out very shortly. In fact, it'll be available this weekend at the Shimmer tapings if you're there. If anybody can find the moment that it happened, let us know on Twitter or send us an email, and we'll see if we can actually pin down the mystery of the year.
God, I'm going to be watching it frame by frame.
I know. Now we're going to get all these tweets about it was right here.
That's right. Put your DVD to 1 hour 53.759. But definitely congratulations on that match. I think it was exactly the right thing, exactly the perfect way to debut you at that show. You'd actually debuted the weekend before at Volume 53 in New Jersey, but I guess being in Berwyn for the traditional tapings was a much sort of more sort of enclosed experience, smaller venue, and the whole weekend of matches. You also wrestled Shazza McKenzie and Athena at that weekend as well. And I mean, I seem to remember the match with Athena also being rather good.
Yes, that match definitely as we always do whenever me and Athena run into each other, beat the crap out of each other. I think at one point we were just having a slap off, and that's just how it goes usually with her. But Yeah, definitely also another good match, even though I came out on the bottom of that one. But, yeah, every time I run into Athena, we both end up with lots of bruises, but it was fun to get them. I don't know, I guess we're a little masochistic, but...
Yeah. Well, I think that's it with wrestlers, isn't it? I think, so... Well, I noticed all three of those opponents, actually, none of them are going to be on the next set of tapings, so you've got a potentially a whole new selection of matches to have.
Yeah, definitely. The only person I really, really, really want to run into this weekend again is Mia Yim. When I first started, wrestled her I don't know, 50 times, and now we probably haven't wrestled each other in a solid year, if not longer. So I really want to wrestle her again. That's just to come together after not wrestling for so long and see how we've changed and everything we can do together now, because me and her actually trained together for a couple months while she was still living up more towards the Virginia area. She would come to the CZW school and we would train there, and so that's the only thing I'm that would be awesome if I could wrestle her again this weekend. But we'll see. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen?
Praise Art knows, I guess. But yeah, no. I'm going to take a bet on that one. If that happens, that's going to be a bit kicky.
Probably going to be a lot kicky.
That offense, as far as the kick-based offense and stuff like that, I mean, is that the flexibility and all that? That's going to come from your dance background, is that right, or am I reading too much into that?
No, that's definitely part of where it came from. Just people were like, "Oh, you're flexible. You can get your leg way up here. Do high kicks. I'm going to teach you this," and stuff like that. That's kind of how it all came about. So it definitely helps too, because I can kick people in the head that are much taller than me because I can get my leg up there.
Guess. I mean, that's the weird thing about it. I mean, you start. Well, you say you started. This isn't exactly the right term, I suppose. But I mean, you were a ballerina when you were a child, and they always say, wrestling it ain't ballet. But are there things that are similar? Is there any sort of performance aspect that you can sort of draw a parallel between how that helped you when you started to wrestling now?
Oh, absolutely. There's so many more parallels than people may want to admit, just with footwork, with flexibility, with with dancing, and when you work with a partner or anything like that, that also transferred over into working with people in wrestling, and just and even almost some of the business aspects of it are very similar to the traveling around and all of that. So they're scary similar at times. And
as far as dancing is concerned, I mean, one thing, I mean, I'm not a dancer by any means, but from anything I've ever seen with dancers, they pick up routines, especially if they've been, if they've been training for a long time and they're good at dancers. They pick up really complicated routines really, really quickly. Are you like that with wrestling? Do you pick up things really quickly? Are you a quick study?
Yeah, I did learn everything very, very quickly too, because of that. And, just, being able to use, just being able to pick up things very quickly also helped me advance quickly throughout, my training and stuff. So.
Well, we're kind of talking in the sort of realms of your training time, so it might be a good time to talk about it in depth. I mean, it's not like the sort of general style that people have when we talk to them about wrestling and such, where they maybe start researching schools, think about becoming a wrestler, and look around and pick a place and think that's the one I want to do. You were kind of asked if you wanted to learn how to wrestle, weren't you?
Yeah, it was. I mean, I always liked wrestling when I was younger. It was, but I just had no idea about independent wrestling or anything. I knew what the WWE was, and that was it. And my parents didn't like it, so whenever I was watching it, it was sneaking to watch it. And so it was never something I thought I would ever find an opportunity to do. But then when I moved from the West Coast to the East Coast, for school, because I actually have a degree in dance education. That's why I ended up over here to begin with. I ended up working in a haunted house for a couple of years. I've done a lot of weird things. So I worked in a haunted house for a couple of years and made some like local friends that way. And one of my friends asked me if I wanted to go to a wrestling show, which happened to be a CZW show, where I happened to run into DJ Hyde, and we just started talking, and he asked, have you ever thought about training to wrestle? Would that be something you wanted to do? And I was like, yeah, I'd love to train to learn how to do this. And so it just kind of went from there, and I never looked back.
That's a bizarre story. It's only because, like, you know, we know the story about the fact that you're the first female graduate of the CZW Academy, so it's not like, at least traditionally, they were ever looking for female trainees, and the idea that DJ Hyde on the first time he met you was like, hey, do you want to wrestle? It just, I don't know what way he phrased it, but it just seems like a very weird thing to ask out of the blue. I mean, had you shown any interest in wanting to do that before he invited you to come along, or literally was it just out of the blue like that?
It wasn't like completely out of the blue. Just as we were talking, like I was like, yeah, this looks like so much fun. Like I think I might have even said, like, I don't know, I would like to do that someday maybe. And then that's when it led into, well, okay, do you want to train to wrestle? So.
and then so you said, okay, I'm going to come along to the CZW Academy. I mean, you'd been to what, one CZW show? Were you really aware of what CZW was about at the time, or?
No, I've been from watching the show and talking to my friend who went all the time, and through that I kind of knew some of the stuff they did, but I had no idea exactly how crazy it can get there until after I had started training, and DJ had kind of shown me some of the more ridiculous things that have happened there.
So did that surprise you then? I mean, did that surprise you, or did it even worry you? Do you think, what have I got myself into with this?
It never worried me so much as, oh no, am I going to have to do this? Just because it was made very apparent to me that, like, this is not for everyone. Not everybody does this, but this is something we do. So no, that never really worried me. I wouldn't say that, like, oh, you're going to have to do all these death matches because you're at CZW.
And of course, like, as the only female there, then you'd have been training with the guys as well. I mean, again, was that weird for you when you started? Or I mean, how did they treat you? Because as the first female there, I mean, I guess, did they treat you the same as them, or did they treat you with kid gloves because they thought, oh, I don't want to hurt the girl?
Oh, no. They treated me just like I was another guy. I remember people punching me in the face. I got, like, yanked off the ropes and stuff like, it was hard. It was very hard, and I definitely had days where I was, like, couldn't get up and walk. Like, I was so sore from training the night before. Yeah, I got no sympathy for being a girl. They taught me right from the beginning that you're going to wrestle like you're a dude, because that's going to make you better in the long run.
So how long was your whole training then?
I trained for about a solid 2 years before I ever did a live show.
Really? So when did you start training? I mean, what was the rough sort of time frame we're talking about then?
I started training in 2009, like September 2009, and then I had my first show April of 2011.
Okay,
so a little under 2 years.
I mean, was that your decision to train for that long before having your first match, or was that somebody else's saying, look, I think you need a little bit more time?
It was definitely some of that. I did have, like, a quick student show match 6 months after I started training, but then nothing up until 2 years later. So it was partially them just because I was the first girl that they were ever going to have come out of the school. They wanted to make sure I was really ready and really going to represent what they wanted me to before I came out. I know at the time I was getting very impatient, like, I want to be a wrestler and be on shows, But I also kind of fell into the manager category for a while, and I was getting booked, but just to manage everywhere. And I dealt with that at CZW for a long time, where I was a manager, and that is what I did. And then also, right before I was supposed to start having matches, I broke my hand and had to have surgery, and that put me out for a little longer too.
Yeah, how did you do that?
So bizarre, learning how to do a head scissors.
What?
I know.
You're doing it wrong then, I think is the answer.
Well, the person who was that I was doing it with, I actually was running in for the post and cracked my thumb on their forearm and broke it that way. I don't know.
Okay. Wow.
I bet you couldn't do that again if you tried.
I doubt it highly, and I broke the metacarpal in my thumb, so I broke like the hardest bone in your hand to break. That's the one I managed to pin down.
Good Lord. So how long did that take to heal, first of all?
It was about 8 weeks with the pin in my hand, and then I had probably another 6 weeks of physical therapy after that.
Oh.
So is the pin still in there?
No, it was... they never made an incision or anything. It was creepy, so it was just sticking out of my hand. I know. And I remember going in to have it taken out, and I was like, they're at least going to give me local anesthesia or something for this before they take it out, right? No, they said, this is going to sting a little bit. Twist, yank, out.
God, that sucks. I wish I hadn't asked that question now.
I'm mentally sort of imagining that they kind of used the claw hammer, to sort of pulled it out. Oh.
Come on, you stubborn bastard! Here we go.
It was very quick, but it was just like like it did sting. I mean, it wasn't that bad, but it was just more shocking than anything that they just like twisted and yanked it right out.
God. So when you got around to actually making your debut for CZW, I mean, it's kind of interesting. You were very keen to wrestle, but I think CZW, like you said, were very keen to make sure that you were ready and that you. Did you feel that there was a lot of pressure on you to represent as a female coming out of the academy, that you really couldn't go out there and suck? You couldn't afford to. It would be embarrassing for CZW. It'd be embarrassing for you. Did you really have a lot of pressure, or did you not?
I wouldn't say they were always telling me, my trainers, you can't suck or we're going to come after you. I think it was me more putting the pressure on myself more than anything else, because I wanted to prove, be look, I'm the first girl out of the school. Look how awesome I am. And so I put a lot of the pressure on myself. And I think them in the long run, now that I can look back, that they didn't just indulge me when I was being impatient and let me out there, that they made me wait, because I think it did make for a better debut in the end.
Mm-hmm. I mean, let's be honest, there's a fair bit of misogyny amongst wrestling fans, and did you kind of have any concerns about that going into CZW with this sort of ultra-violent, sort of very manly wrestling style, and actually being accepted?
Oh, well, and CZW has probably the hardest fans to please in professional wrestling, I would wager to say. I was definitely terrified, and when I was managing, every nasty, horrible chant you could think of said to me, and they just tell you, that's how they're going to be, just let it roll off your shoulders, and I think that's another reason they, made sure I was really ready and really was strong and looked like I could hold myself up against the guys, because when I was first coming out, it really was only me and Mia Yim that were there at all. There weren't any girls besides that at all. So we were put up against guys. That's just what was expected. I don't think... Yeah, me and Mia Yim never had a singles match at a CZW show. We were only in a mixed tag ever there. All of our wrestling was somewhere else. So, I think it definitely did put a lot of pressure on me to be that much stronger and be able to do this much more, because I had to get those fans to accept me, which I would say at this point I have done. But Yeah, it was scary at first.
Was there a moment though when you kind of like, you know, if there's a match you can point to or a reaction that you got from the crowd or something like that where you kind of thought to yourself, yeah, that's it, I've got them?
I would say what probably was the biggest moment where it's like, yeah, I've got them, they're on my side now, was when Ruckus gave me a falcon arrow off the apron through a table to the floor.
Excellent.
I think that's probably when they're like, oh, okay, she's pretty damn tough because she just went through this table match and is alive. Yeah, I think that was probably the biggest moment where.
So I think about 6 months or something into your time in CZW, we were already part of like a 2 out of 3 falls mixed tag tables match.
Yeah, that was the match where I went.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty hardcore. But I mean, you haven't really done a lot of that though. You kind of like, you know, you kept pretty much to the straight wrestling, and I mean, I assume that's what your preference is now. I mean, you're not necessarily looking to get into the more violent stuff, are you?
No, my preference is definitely the straight wrestling. But if hardcore stuff does come around for a good reason, I wouldn't say that I'm unwilling. I would have to have a very good reason for it. I'm not going to put my body up against that just because it's a Tuesday, you know what I mean?
Yeah. You weren't desperate to run out during the Saran Night versus Mickey Knuckles match and start getting involved with that or something?
No, I was quite all right.
Sure.
Being in the back during that one.
Can understand that. Let's talk about the name Kimber Lee. It's one of those things now where I guess when you start wrestling, it wasn't really something you were thinking about, and you know, we've got Kimberly down in Shine and WXW as well now, and it kind of has got to the point where, especially if you're speaking to someone about wrestling and female wrestling, you almost kind of have to qualify every time you say Kimberly. You got to go, well, that's Shine Kimberly or that's CZW Kimberly or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, is that awkward for you now? Like, oh yeah, I'm that Kimberly, I'm not that Kimberly. Has there ever been a case where someone's got confused and, you know, thought that you were the other Kimberly?
Not any time to me, no, that anybody has been confused of which one I am that I've seen, but you can blame I should say you can blame Solomon Crow for that name. He is who gave it to me, so.
It's all right. The wrestling naming gods have struck back and given him the name of Solomon Crow, so.
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure there was no point where, you know, a promoter had gone to book like a token women's match on the show and booked the wrong Kimberly or something, and, you know, you turned up and they're like, hang on, aren't you supposed to be brunette?
No, I have never had that happen.
All right, fine.
Me and Kimberly actually faced off recently for the first time too.
Yeah, in Shine, which I'm pretty certain was just a rib on Lenny Leonard on commentary.
Have fun calling this one. Go.
You say that. I'm pretty sure it was. It was a fun match, but I think that was why they put it together, just to see what they would do. And as far as the name is concerned, I mean, obviously Kimber Lee is how you're known pretty much everywhere, but it's not absolutely everywhere because you've got an alter ego as well.
Yes, I do. I am also at a couple places. I'm known as Princess Kimberly. That happens a couple times.
Yeah, wrestling's
fun, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes. I also am a very spoiled princess brat occasionally.
So why is that? Why is there a different Kimberly character in Wrestling is Fun?
Well, I mean, that one all kind of started with when I was first starting to come out and manage. One of the first characters that, once again, Mr. Solomon Crow gave me was Princess Palm Strike, which, if you watch my matches, I have never thrown a palm strike in any of them, but that was my name. And Princess Palm Strike managed a tag team at a company called Force One, Lancelot. So she was their princess in distress, and I think When Quack was contacting me about coming into Wrestling is Fun, he wanted a princess, and he knew I had already done that, so it just kind of came about from that. I used to run around in a Princess Peach costume.
Yeah, I've seen pictures. I've actually never seen you wrestle as Princess Kimber Lee, but it's something I've got to try and track down. Would you consider doing that gimmick elsewhere, or is that just like a Wrestling is Fun thing now?
I mean, if somebody asked for it elsewhere, I would do it, but I think it's mainly gonna stick with Wrestling is Fun.
That belongs in
I like
wrestling.
being myself a little more.
Yeah. So a character like that kind of belongs in the Wrestling is Fun universe, I suppose.
Oh yes, Princess Kimber Lee fits there very perfectly, and I definitely enjoy doing her on occasion.
When's the last time you've done that character? Actually, has it been a little while, hasn't it?
It has been a little while. The last time I did it was against Saturnine in a Kiss My Foot match that I unfortunately had to kiss her foot at the end of.
You mentioned there about how you prefer Kimber Lee being the preferred thing for you to do. I mean, how much of you is in Kimber Lee?
Oh, it's all me. It's just what my personality is personified, really. There's no real other influence other than
the reason I
what
ask
I
is
already
because
am with her.
my brain just immediately went to a promo that you and Annie Social did, which was possibly the most foul-mouthed promo that I've ever heard in my entire life.
Well, that might be a little bit more of when I'm hanging out with Annie Social, the influences she can have on me. But
yeah, we love Annie Social. She's got no censor to her at all.
No, and that's why I love her so much.
So you've been wrestling now from 2011. It's 2013. You're still pretty young in your career, but I mean, you've already had a little taster of international action, not only for Femmes Fatales up in Canada, and we'll talk about that in a little while, but you had a match in Japan, but it was literally a flying visit. You were over there for 4 days, and you had one match and back again?
Yeah, I wasn't there long enough to even adjust to the time zone.
Yeah, how does that work? How did you end up getting a single booking? Because we've seen all these girls go over now for 3 months at a time, but I mean, did you even get a chance to taste the air in Japan? Really, did you get a chance to see around you at all?
I did have a little bit of time one of the days to look around a little bit, but I didn't get to see much. And how that happened is, once again, my girl, Mia Yim, who had a lot of ties with Reina, and still does, just called me up and was like, hey, are you free these dates? Can you get a passport? Will you be able to do this? Because I gave Reina your stuff and a couple other people's, and they picked you. They need you for this one show. And that's how it happened. And so I quickly expedited a passport because I didn't even have one at the time.
It's shocking how many wrestlers we hear of who don't have passports. It just stuns me.
Yes, well, I have one now and am ready and willing to use it. Hint, hint, wink, wink to all the promoters out there listening.
Excellent point.
But so it was quite a whirlwind of an experience, if anything. And for my first match being in Korakuen Hall too, that was just almost overwhelming.
Yeah, it was the last show of the original run of Reina, and you fought Aki Kambayashi on the show. Mm-hmm. But the best thing about the match was the wacky Japanese English subtitle that they gave the match, which was CZW USA Blonde Hair Beautiful Woman Invasion.
I never saw that. That's awesome.
That's absolutely true. The Blonde Hair Beautiful Woman Invasion. It was a short invasion, but it was a nice invasion, I guess. I guess maybe Aki Kambayashi knocked back the invasion. If you'd won, maybe you'd have taken over the country.
Yes, I might have. That was my plan all along, actually.
Any blonde hair, beautiful woman invasions going to Japan anytime soon, do you reckon?
I hope so. Hint, hint, wink, wink.
Right.
I would absolutely love to go back. It's a matter of when the opportunity is going to come a knocking.
Sure. Let's talk again another bit. But just talked about briefly, just mentioned it in passing, was Femmes Fatales. Which is another little bit of international experience for you, a little bit closer to home, admittedly, but it is a different country. You debuted for them earlier in the year, took on LuFisto. That must have been pretty awesome to wrestle LuFisto in Montreal.
Oh yeah. I mean, just from it being LuFisto, who, being from the CZW school, is somebody who I watched a ton of and was like, I want to be this woman. It was like getting to wrestle a dream match and getting to wrestle somebody I idolized, and like, it was, that whole experience was awesome. And then getting to be in her hometown and see how they react to her was also just an amazing experience. Like, it was just awesome. I can't describe it any other way.
You said a whole bunch of stuff's been great, and I agree, actually. Obviously for 2 years or so in the business, you've had a really, really great run. But I mean, between like the LuFisto match you're talking about, or the Evie match, or your Alison Kay match, or Aki Kambayashi and Kurikan Hall, or whatever, have you got a favorite match? Is there a match that you can sort of say this was the closest so far I've come to perfect?
Oh Lord, that question. I don't know. I'm gonna have that's really hard to choose. If I had to pick, I absolutely had to pick, I would have to probably say my match against Evie.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really a toss-up, honestly.
I mean, what other matches would there be that were you were kind of picking between there? Because it sounded like you went through a little bit of a process then.
Well, that one, or my match against LuFisto, or not my match against Athena at Shimmer, but my match against Athena at one of Girls' Night Out 8. That match also is very high on my list of matches that I really enjoyed, and I don't know, it changes every week, honestly, which is my favorite. I'm very undecisive.
Well, as far as like your favourite time goes, I guess we kind of talked a little bit about it earlier on, and you touched on it there with AIW. But your run in the JT Lightning Invitational Tournament this year, that must have been up there as one of your best moments so far.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Just getting the opportunity to show that, like, I am just as tough as these guys. Don't count me out, because everyone did, and then I busted everybody's bracket, so ha-ha to all of you trying to win money. And then getting the opportunity to wrestle somebody like Johnny Gargano, who has such a huge name in wrestling, and it was just amazing. And then after the match I had with him, the respect he gave me, and just saying to everybody, like, I don't care if you're a girl or a guy, you're an awesome wrestler, and having him say that in front of the fans to everybody was just awesome. I think I'm pretty sure I was crying at that point.
So listen, I mean, like, we picked you out, not to toot our own trumpets too much, but we picked you as our discovery of the year last year, and this year you've sort of really built on that, and you've got all these experiences now of wrestling in Shimmer and Femmes Fatales and Shine and WSU and AIW and everything like that. What's the next step? Is there a next step you've got in the back of your head somewhere, like what you'd like to do next? Is there anywhere next at the minute, or are you just happy to enjoy life while it's here?
Mm-hmm. I'm very much, I want to see as far as I can go. I want to go as high up as I can in wrestling. I know definitely a huge goal for me, which you guys will like to hear this one, is I want to go to Europe really, really bad.
Yeah, you do.
Yes, I do. So that is a big goal I want to accomplish, hopefully in 2014, because 2013, scarily enough, is closing up very soon. I feel like this year flew by.
Thought it well has. Yeah, I agree.
But I want to go to Europe. I want to go back to Japan and see where the crazy world that is wrestling takes me. Yeah.
When you say, go as high as you can in wrestling, I mean, does that include something like WWE? Would that be the ultimate goal, to be able to get a contract and be able to, make some serious cash in this business? It's got to be, hasn't it?
For making serious cash, and absolutely. I mean, that is the biggest platform wrestlers would have to show their stuff on. But would I absolutely fall on the floor and die if I never make it to WWE? No. I believe that there are a lot of other places you can accomplish maybe even more than sometimes than what opportunities they give the women there. Like, I know a huge goal of mine is I want to be a Shimmer champion. I want that belt someday. It is on my list of things I must do. And however long it takes me. But so I try to look at it as, if I, in everything I do, change one little girl's life at some point where they look at me and say, I want to be like Kimber Lee, then I've done my job.
Oh, that's rather sweet.
Essentially, that's what China did to you, though, wasn't it?
Yes, in a way. I was like, I want to be like her. I want to be able to wrestle the boys, and I did it, I guess.
That's absolutely true. Yeah, so there you go. I mean, let's just bracket it up for people then who want to be aware of what you're doing in the next couple of weeks on fight season.
There's a lot.
Yeah, well, apart from Shimmer this weekend, where you potentially got as many as 4 matches across the weekend, you're also heading back up to Femmes Fatales the following weekend. You're going to be involved in a 3-way there with Angie Sky and Christina Von Eerie.
Yes, whereas me and Christina Von Eerie are not strangers to each other, being that we are butting heads in a major way at CZW right now. And Angie Sky, I have not wrestled yet, but I have started to see a lot of her work, so I think that is going to be a great match. I'm very excited to be going back too.
Cool. I mean, you mentioned CZW, and actually, I mean, a really important question that we need to try and get your opinion on is the news that came out of WSU the weekend of the new co-owner and the fact that DJ Hyde is now involved. I mean, I think, obviously WSU and CZW have been working very close for the last year anyway with sort of double header shows and so on, but making it more official going forward. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, to have DJ, the guy who got you involved in wrestling, also now being involved with WSU on an official level.
Well, for me, it's just like kind of having the person who started it all. Now they're going to be there for me in another place too. For me, it's a great thing. Like, if it weren't for DJ Hyde, I wouldn't be here, because he is the person who asked me the question, do you want to wrestle? And so for me, it's like, oh yes, awesome. I guess, like, it's not anything that's like a huge shocker or anything for me at all. It's just like, awesome. Now I have this person who supports me in another place too.
I think it's quite interesting, just that as far as DJ Hyde is concerned, there's when we spoke to Drew Cordero, there was opportunities which he talked about that doors might open up, and he mentioned about international stuff that might help to lend things your way, considering your ambitions for wrestling overseas.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, using DJ Hyde, he already through CZW has so many connections to Europe and Japan that it will definitely help for all the girls, because now he can start to branch out and make the connections with the women's companies in those places too. And I think it'll be great for everybody, because then more of us will be able to get the opportunities to go over there.
Do you think that might make people pull their socks up a little bit further as well? Because I know there's iPay-per-view and that's broadcast around the world, and then there's the DVD distribution and the stream WSU and things like that. But then if there's people who say, look, I have a contact with somewhere overseas, that people might think, well, maybe this I can, if I focus even more on this now and maybe add a little bit more to it, there's always that possibility that it might open doors elsewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think it could.
Well, listen. I mean, I want to say thanks very much for giving us a lot of your time today. We've kind of had a mind to talk to you for quite a while, but
a long while. We spoke to her in April about this.
Actually, we did. Yeah,
yeah, you did. No, I'm remembering.
We were like, okay, we're going to have to talk to you, but we thought, well, what we'll do is we'll wait until the next show comes up, so we've got even more to talk about. That's the cool thing about when you're doing a million cool things. There's always new things to talk about. So I'm sure it's. Goes without saying, we'll have you back at some point in the future to presumably discuss all of the cool things you've got coming up in 2014.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'd love to be back for sure.
Let's just let everybody know how they can get in touch with you and social media and all that sort of stuff. Do you want to give a bit of a shout out to how people can get in contact?
Yes, absolutely. If you want to see what I'm doing, Facebook and Twitter are the easiest. My Twitter account, which I tend to be on more, is Kimber Lee 90, KIMBERLEE, the number 9, the number 0. Or you can follow me on Facebook too, which is facebook.com/bombshell Kimberly, spelled with the LEE.
Excellent. There you go. Not to be confused with any other Kimberleys. Not even any South Korean playwrights.
Yes.
Indeed. All right. Excellent. Well, look, we'll see you soon. In fact, I'll see you this weekend. And
yes, you will.
We will.
Sorry, Lee.
Yeah, I'll get over it. Don't worry.
This is where we came in back to the sympathy for Lee again.
Yes.
So, yeah, lovely.